Just three ordinary people from the hills of eastern Kentucky. We don't have all the answers, but we do have all the questions. This is the Just Add Bourbon podcast with Jimmy Don, JD, and Don. Welcome, everybody, to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Dawn Giesica.
And I'm JD there.
And it is another beautiful Sunday evening here in the hills of eastern Kentucky. And we've got a ton of topics this week, hopefully not all COVID related. I think all three of us at least need a break for a week about arguing over COVID and mask mandates and vaccine mandates and all that stuff. So we have a ton of topics. And JD, we kind of always start the show off. All is right in the state of Kentucky because the Cats are 3-0. We didn't play well, but we're 3-0, getting ready to head into the teeth of our SEC schedule.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Cats schedule, this is a obvious trap game for us. You got a team coming in that should be undermanned, under-talented. They come in and give us a heck of an effort and a tough fight. We're about ready to head into the teeth of the SEC, so it's easy for us to overlook. And I think that's what happened. We had a case, which is, Stoops' job is to make sure we're not overlooking people. And we're not good enough to overlook people yet. It's college football, baby. You see how crazy things can happen all over the nation.
Well, I was going to ask you that, JD. As far as, you coached football forever, you start off, you got the home opener. It was jacked, right? I was there. It was packed. Everybody was pumped up. First pass led us through. He was so excited he overthrew the guy and threw an interception. Then you go into Missouri, which is the game of the year as far as setting us up, to actually do something special for the rest of the year. And then you get Chattanooga. Yeah. And how easy is it to, because they just didn't play. Not like we can play. Levis looked bad. Mm-hmm. Everything looked bad.
Yeah, it's a tough job as a coach, man, to get your guys ready to play for a team like that. After just beating Missouri, the SEC win, you got South Carolina lurking next week with Florida and Georgia and all those guys, and you got to play Chattanooga this week. It's tough.
Who just got beat by Austin Peay.
Yeah. So you expected to come in and them to roll over, and they came in and they didn't roll over. They came in and punched us in our mouth, and it caught us off guard. And it's just tough. We talk about quicksand, man. You start fighting, trying to get things going, and the more you struggle, the worse things start getting. So that's what happens in football a lot of times.
Don, did you watch the game?
I did. I want to ask you guys something. Did you guys notice how the Chattanooga coach need his assistant coach in the rear end?
I didn't see it.
I'm sorry, but I need to talk about that. That blew my mind, how everybody just accepts. When these coaches go crazy off the wall, everybody just accepts that in that culture. It's so toxic to me. I can't stand it. He need an adult assistant coach twice.
Well, didn't he grab the quarterback too after he threw the pick six?
Geez, yeah, he did. The guy needs Valium. I know he's excited. He's playing Kentucky, and it's a big deal, and they were doing good, and we weren't doing well. I didn't appreciate that. And I know that's a girl thing, and everybody will be like, oh, that's a girl take. It's really not. That's the kind of take that I see as a girl of, I hope my daughters never end up with a man who is comfortable kneeing another grown man, because if you'll do that, and that's a big guy he need, if you'll do that, I can only imagine what you do to your wife.
It's like that. He expected it to be accepted too. You know what I'm saying? That's the culture he's built on that coaching staff. That's very toxic. Not good.
Yeah, I didn't. And Chattanooga's had some trouble. Am I right? Yeah, this is a new coach, right? This is his first season. They just changed out coaches.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, they're on a roll. They know how to pick them, eh?
Yeah, no, that was. I saw a lot of that on Twitter after the game, because it was really hard to watch the game yesterday. You had to have ESPN Plus, and it was a whole thing. And I ended up cleaning the garage, listening to Tom Leach call the game and listen to it, and then came in and watched Bama, Florida, which ended up being a really good game.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
Yeah. And so did Tennessee play yesterday, the Vols?
Yeah, they beat the brakes off somebody.
Well, they played Tennessee Tech, which isn't in their division and is pretty much bottom in the division that they're in. So, yeah, they basically played a high school team, but they did good.
And the town that I'm in right now, the University of Southeastern Missouri, played Missouri yesterday, and
They got whipped too.
Got destroyed. Yeah.
But what about Alabama? What did y'all think about their offense yesterday?
Whew, hey, Florida's legit.
Yeah,
Florida's a good ball team.
I get that, but I just didn't expect that. I didn't expect it that close. I know they have, home field advantage and all that, but still, I didn't expect a 3-point exactly. I'm a Georgia, cheerleader because of Todd. I just wonder if Georgia is going to take that number 1 seed before you know it.
Georgia looks good.
Georgia's
man.
defense is ridiculous.
They beat South Carolina to death. I mean, I watched most of that game too, and Georgia looks scary. Florida kind of settled in with that one quarterback. They had been using 2 quarterbacks, and they kind of settled into that one guy yesterday, and he gave them trouble. I mean, he really did, and to be in the swamp it's hard to play in the swamp. I don't care if you're Alabama or you're Kentucky. It's hard to play there. They have a great home field advantage. But I was surprised because, I mean, really, you're a blown 2-point conversion away from tying that ball game up.
Really, that's not a blown kick. Point PAT. A kick PAT was missed earlier in the game, which made them they had to chase that point all the game. And at the end, they had to change up their whole philosophy of everything, trying to get that extra point back. That's why it ended up being a 2-point game instead of a tied ball game. Because of missed extra point kick. Yeah.
It was a fun Saturday. I really enjoyed it. And, I love Kentucky basketball. You're born in Kentucky. You're born and bred to be a Kentucky basketball fan. But there is nothing that I like better than college football and NFL football. This time of the year is probably my favorite time of the year. So, all right, we're going to move in. But before we move into our primary topics this week, a couple of housekeeping notes. One, if you're watching right now, share this. Go and share the feed on Facebook. Let's get this thing shared out there across, as many people as we can. Just share it. Share and tell everybody you know about it. 2, next weekend, we will be doing the show earlier. Now, it'll probably be around 1, 2 o'clock. I'm going to be out of town. My alter ego is going to Louder Than Life in Louisville for 4 days. And so I will be in Louisville on Sunday, and Metallica plays that night. So I want to get out there just a little bit earlier to be able to watch the show. And, JD, you'll never find this week, for me, I am a comic book loving businessman who loves heavy music. I cannot wait because I literally have to go Thursday – and I'll meet the people from Alliance to prep for the PSC hearing that's on Friday. I'm going to leave that, go to Louisville, watch Korn, then get back up the next morning, drive back to Frankfurt to testify in front of the Public Service Commission at 8 a.m. There's no week in history that will ever, the parallels of who I am.
Yeah, crazy contrast.
Yeah, it is. So I'm going to be doing that, and then I'm going to leave the PSC hearing and go watch Metallica because they play 2 nights. I cannot wait.
They play Thursday night and Sunday night. What do they do?
They play Friday night and Sunday night, and then the next week I'm headed down to Dawn's part of the world. When she's in Tennessee, I'm headed to Nashville on Wednesday to watch Harry Styles.
What?
Yeah. Jimmy Dawn's not going to watch Harry Styles.
I'm not watching Harry Styles. I'm driving. I paid for the tickets. Yes, I paid for the tickets, and I'm driving, and I'll be at the hotel while.
I thought you'd went and got your vaccine and lost your mind with Harry Styles.
No. It's no. The girls, Ashton is this crazy Harry Styles fan. But I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't care to go because I have to listen to it so much in the car that I kind of like it. I like some of his songs, and I would watch that show.
Hey, I went to the Wiggles concert, brother, with Jason's little boy.
Listen, partner,
I knew every song, every word, every song.
I've seen One Direction. I've seen Carly Rae Jepsen. I've seen Justin Bieber.
I love Justin Bieber. Well, the girls are keeping it real for you then. I thought you was going from Metallica to Harry Styles, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. No. That is not my thing. Like I said, I've seen those shows because the girls like music like I do, and they're into concerts. So
we love Harry Styles too.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. But anyway, all right, so let's get into it. We were kind of talking about sports here, and apparently JD does what JD does.
No, hold on. Before we get into that, just talk about Martin County doing that. There's a class move by the Martin County football program. Go ahead and talk about it.
No, Friday night, of course, like I said, you got high school football this time of the year as well. And Coach Jim Matney, we talked about on the show last week, still in the hospital, still very sick. And before the game, the football team essentially went to the middle of the field, and George Rogers Clark, who was our opponent, went to the middle of the field, made a circle around the Cardinal, and they had a prayer for Coach Matney. And it was really touching if you were there because, Matney hasn't coached us since, 2004. Mm-hmm. But he was a huge, huge part of our community and that coaching staff. And JD talked about it last week. And it was just a really class act. And I did actually get on Facebook and look. I try to stay off there. But I got on there and looked. And all these people from Johnson County were like, wow, what a classy move by the city of Inez and the people in Martin County. I shouldn't say city of Inez, but the people of Martin County. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was really touching, and I hope Coach gets to see that at some point because there's a lot of people worried about him and thinking about him and praying for him right now.
And that makes me be happy to be a part of a program with that much class, man. Just to be honest with you, Coach Muncie, class act over there. They got the little emblems to put on the back of the helmet for the game.
Yep. We
love Coach Matney, and we just wish him a speedy recovery.
That's also the beauty of a small town and a small community. We all know each other, we know each other's families, and we root for each other regardless because we're from that area. And it's always good to pray. Look, prayer moves mountains. I know that we have a lot of believers that watch the show, and we have a lot of non-believers that don't watch the show. But my personal thing is I've changed a lot with prayer. So, of course, we're praying for Matney, praying for everybody who's sick. And I thought that was a very classy move. So hats off to MC on that.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. All right, so now let's get into the controversy. JD doing what JD does, made a post on Facebook. Now, I like to follow JD's Facebook feed because I do stay off Facebook, but I occasionally get on JD's feed just to see what he's doing to rile people up because, he's a gaslighter. Let's be honest. He likes to gaslight and get people fired up. So anyway, JD, I want you to read the post that you made and then talk about what occurred after.
So first off, I didn't even expect this post to blow up at all. Honestly, I don't know. Anyway,
he's a victim. Remember,
a victim again. See, absolutely.
Yes, victimized.
Okay, so now I am gaslighting. But no, you don't have. Lord have mercy, I can't speak. You don't know how many messages I get, during the weeks or just whatever. Listen, I hardly ever comment on your status, but I always read your Facebook post. And people, I don't know, they like to argue with me for some reason. I don't know why, but whatever.
So like to argue back.
And I don't even know why. Yeah. So about 11:30 last night, I was here at the hotel, blown away. And I decided to post on Facebook. And I guess I was just doing some heavy thinking. I don't know if it's that heavy thinking. But here's the post I made with 91 comments now. Lessons from coaching. Everyone is absolutely not on the same playing level. Over and over again, we see the children of parents who are privileged get the starting spots. Not because the coach is playing favorites, but because the people with the right last names have had the opportunity to attend training camp in the summer, went to the camp, or afforded their children to be playing the game for years now. Outliers, a book by Malcolm Gladwell, explains the situation brilliantly. Sometimes it's simply based on your child's birthday. I'm glad to say I never played, nor has Coach Muncie, Martin County's head coach, played anybody based on who they were. Earn your spot. But advantages are given to kids who can afford to get the extra coaching. Don't blame the coach, blame the system. And my shit blew up.
Mm-hmm. It's a good topic.
No, It is a good topic. So, number one, JD, there's a lot of truth to that post. Mm-hmm. People who are more fortunate, their children do get advantages because they can afford to send them to these different trainings and camps and different things. There's absolute truth to that. Mm-hmm. So what was the negative pushback? Like, what was the pushback?
So I think the ideal that maybe was perpetuated that I did not imply or say is that if you were privileged or that you come from a privileged life, that you're not going to work hard. You're just going to get things handed to you. But that is not what I'm implying at all.
Right.
If I have a daughter, my daughter's a pretty good little softball player. If I wanted to take and get her pitching lessons, I would have to pay for that lessons. I would have to run her to somewhere to get those lessons. And she would have to take advantage of her privilege that I was able to afford her. And she would get better because of that privilege. And that's just a simple fact of reality, guys. That doesn't mean that my daughter wouldn't have responsibility to work hard. It doesn't mean that somebody else is losing because she's winning. It's just the fact that that's just the nature of life.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go ahead, Don. You read the post.
No, I totally agree with you. It's upward mobility. It's if you are born into a family that has a better economic, position, you can afford more things for your child. It doesn't mean that you're taking a kid who's not athletic and making them athletic. It means you're taking a kid who has a talent, and you're making it better. And that does give them an advantage over people who can't afford it. Same thing with ACT scores. Down here, if our kids didn't get the ACT score, I think Holden wanted a 34. He got a 31. That's great, right? But that wasn't a 34. So we paid, $1,500 every time we turned around until he got the score he wanted. Parents who don't have that type of money cannot have that advantage.
Absolutely.
That's how it is, whether it's in sports or whether it's in school. If you can pay for extra help, extra training, extra tutoring, it puts you at an advantage.
And we're doing the same
thing, Don.
That's how life is. Yeah. Well, we're doing the same thing with Ashton, right now, because she's the one that's old enough to do it. Prepping for Vandy. We're taking ACT classes. We're ACT mom. We're putting in a ton of work, and it costs money to do that. And, we're absolutely going to, do that for her, to give her the opportunity to go where she wants to be. Right. And I think that is a bigger question, JD, as far as, from a society standpoint. It sounds like it's more of a societal problem. But at the same time, I'm not going to apologize for working my guts out.
That's right.
And I didn't even say that.
He didn't say that.
There's nothing wrong with working hard to be successful, guys. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, yeah. Look.
And Holden, scoring a 31 on his ACT or Ashton working hard to get an ACT score she wants, that doesn't mean they're not going to have to put work in. It doesn't mean they're going to automatically go in there and make that grade. It does not mean that. It just means they have access to some privileges that some kids don't have. I can tell you, I've been coaching for a little while now, and I've seen, kids come through that program 4 years and their parents never come to a ball game. And, walk out with them on senior night, the coach has to walk out there with them.
Right.
Everybody else has got, a table over here with all these decorations and balloons and, these big posters. And then you got this kid over here. They don't have anything. The coaches scramble, run out and buy things. You tell me that kid's got the support that the other kids have got? Absolutely not. And you think they won't have any of those advantages that some of these other kids have? Absolutely not. And that was the point of my post.
Yeah, not when it comes to money anyway. And I didn't see that you implied that there was any reason for us to apologize for it, because Jimmy Don, you, all of us came from where we came from. It's not like it just showed up. We've all worked. I've worked jobs that people would be embarrassed of, because everybody thinks everything's beneath them now if you're not making $50 an hour. When I had my first job at Pikeville Methodist, that's when it was called Pikeville Methodist, it was minimum wage in the laboratory. I had to work my way up. My husband works hard. So I'm unapologetic when it comes to me sending my kids to private school or getting Holden extra soccer camps or max football stuff, things of that nature. But I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to make them better in their sport. So, I admit it. And I admit it. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. So, I'm not, it's not that I don't feel bad for other people. It's just, I can't hold my kid back because another one doesn't have the same chance, just like Ashton shouldn't be held back from Vanderbilt just because maybe her best friend can't get into Vanderbilt, so I think that's where some of the people who read your post got a little confused. They, for some reason, I don't know why, JD, you didn't say anything, but for some reason they kind of thought that maybe you was saying that there was something wrong with giving your kids an advantage. And I didn't see that you said that. Yeah,
and even went over and over again. I said, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I don't know. I just think people were offended, and I get so sick of these same people who are like, oh, a bunch of snowflakes on the left. Bro, are you offended by the word privileged? Because I'm not. And I'm not rich, but I make about 3 times. Well, I'm going to say how much I make. But I make a decent living, especially for the area I live in. I make a very good living. And my kids would be considered privileged. And I'm not apologizing for that. I work hard for my money. So, and anybody that's offended by the word privilege, and I just don't know what else to say to you. I don't know.
Right.
Work hard for yours.
I think it's honestly, guys, I think that it's a good example of the American dream. I mean, that's what makes this country so great. If you take on extra jobs, or you take on the jobs that nobody else wants, or you do this or you do that, you can give your kid something extra, whether it might not be a camp, but it might be an extra set of books that they want, or the cell phone that they need to research. I thought your post was interesting and it was fine. I can tell you my kids are privileged. None of them work. They're all in school. That's their job. I tell them every day things could change because life changes just like that. But right now, this is your job. But you need to realize you need to be humble. You need to be good. And you need to realize you are coming at an advantage over some of your peers who are working 40 hours a week plus going to college full time.
And one of the things I went on to say in the post is, some of these kids that I coach are dealing with some very real serious issues when they leave home. When they leave that football field and go to the house, is mom going to be doped out of her mind when I get home today?
Yeah.
Is mom even going to be around? She can be missing for
Is there going to be anything to eat?
Is there going to be anything to eat?
Right.
That's real life. That's real life for these kids. This is not a movie. This is real life. These kids, they eat at school and that's all they eat. And to say that, a privileged child doesn't or has the same opportunity as that kid is just, to me, not reality.
Right.
And it's one of those things, I don't know how you break that cycle either necessarily. Like how, there are some kids that, like what JD's talking about, when they go home, they don't know. And Amy talks about it all the time. When there's no school, she gets concerned.
Right. Yeah, we have it here too.
She's not sure those kids are going to get to eat lunch. They're, what's going to happen while they're at home.
Who's with them?
It worries her, but again, how do you break that cycle? Because a lot of education today is pushing everybody to the middle, right? You're trying to push everybody to the middle. You hold the more advanced kids back in some ways. And so we push and do other things to try to make sure that ours get the education we feel like they need and deserve. And there are some kids that are in those situations that will ultimately get out of it. They just have a different way about them. They have a different drive about them. They will figure out a way to get out of it. I was never poor. I was very blessed growing up. My dad worked in the coal mines. We weren't rich. And as he would say, we had what we needed, not what we wanted.
Right.
And so sometimes we got what we wanted, but that was rare. We always got what we needed. And there are a lot of kids in our community specifically, and I'm sure all over this country, that don't even get that. And I'm not sure what breaks that cycle, because in politics, that's a lot of the difference between the right and the left in a lot of cases is how do you break that cycle?
Yeah, but I don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
I'm sorry. You're never going to break poverty. The Bible tells us poor is always going to be with us. And, there's never, I believe in the Bible, but I also believe the poor is always going to be with us. You're always going to have people who want more and more and more. And you're always going to have people who are working really, really hard and never able to get out of poverty either. So it's a complex, complicated situation. I wish everybody was equal, but that's just not an option.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that we keep hearing over and over is, oh, you work hard. Guys, I've worked hard. And I know people that have worked hard.
And they're still poor.
And they're still poor.
Right.
Well, it's not always just work harder.
That's
not the answer. Sometimes it's learn how to manage money. Let's some financial management classes, stuff like that would go a tremendous way. I had no idea how credit scores worked. No idea. And I think, as far as I can tell, there's a girl on my Facebook last week who paid off her card and her credit score dropped.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
It's like, what? Yeah. So we're just making this credit score thing up as we go along, apparently. I don't know. But, there are things we can do, but, the answer is just not work hard all the time. It's not always there.
No, and I agree with that. My grandmother told me My grandmother told me one time, Eastern Kentucky, Martin County itself had always been really poor. She said, but people had a pride about them. And she said people would go out and sweep the dirt in front of their houses to get the rocks out of it. It was just, there was a pride. She said she saw a big change when Lyndon Johnson showed up and told everybody they were poor. She said that people didn't really necessarily know they were poor. They knew they didn't have anything, but they had a community. They had, everybody kind of took care of everybody. They were proud of what they had. Lyndon Johnson showed up and told them they were poor, and things changed. And she said that was just her experience and what she saw, is that the pride of
just kind of went away.
It just kind of went away. And I find that an interesting, dichotomy as far as, how people think and why we are where we are today. I mean, it just, I don't know. That story, she told me that story a long time ago.
That really hit home. That's sweet. I'm glad you brought that up. That really hit home with me. I had no earthly idea that there was anything different about Eastern Kentucky or Martin County until I moved to Tennessee, and everybody, especially like when I went into leadership classes and stuff like that. And then everybody started telling me and making kind of, low key making fun of my accent and the fact that we're one of the poorest counties and Lyndon B. Johnson went there. I had no idea. I mean, you guys know that we all grew up there. I didn't. I played with whoever I liked. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if they lived in a school bus or whatever. I never noticed. I didn't care.
So I got an interesting story about this.
Yeah.
We come from over in West Virginia originally. And my brother was in 9th grade when we moved to Martin County, and I was in 6th grade, and my youngest brother was in 3rd grade. I had experience. I didn't know we were poor in West Virginia. We lived in a little single-wide trailer on the side of the mountain. Mom doing the best she can to raise 3 rowdy boys, But my older brother had started to experience that some at the age he was. We didn't have the nice clothes, and people had started treating him differently because we were poor.
Yeah.
Because he was that had become of age, and I hadn't experienced that yet, and I had no idea we were poor.
I didn't know we were poor as a region at all.
And so when I moved to Martin County, we moved into this big nice house, and so Mom always, she went out with boss, nice clothes, and all this stuff, and she wanted to do that, and it was a big deal for Brian because, now he could just be himself and not have to worry about that label.
Right.
That label didn't follow him there. He had a new chance to start over. And I was at the age where I was about to start experiencing that probably. And Mom, she was so happy to go out and buy us all these Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger was a big deal back in the day. Yeah. And, I always wore that nice brand clothes, but I didn't ever care about that stuff. But she wanted, it was her thing. She wanted to do that for us. And, so we didn't experience that. Go ahead.
I think a lot of it comes from good moms. I'm telling you, moms and dads can make you think that the world is okay when their world is crashing in. I mean, Mom had me in braces. She always made me, take care of my hair, take care of my face, and take care of my teeth. I was like a little version of Fancy, the Reba McEntire song. But, she always took care of us like that. I never thought anything. I didn't know we were poor as a region. And JD, I think you might be with me on this one. But I did know that there was a difference from being from our side of the hill.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that, right? I knew that because I dated a boy from Inez, and I remember, his family like kind of saying, oh, she's from the wrong side of the hill type of thing. And I remember at Christmas time, the gifts that he gave me were outfits that were all name brand. And Mom was already putting me in name brand stuff. I just don't care what I wear, guys. I put more of my money. I put more of my money in my hair and my facials. I couldn't care less if I'm wearing one of Todd's t-shirts that's 15 years old. Doesn't bother me, Right. There is no middle ground for me. I'm either dressed up or I'm dressed down. So when he gifted that, I thought, are my clothes not good enough for you? Not only am I from the wrong side of the hill, are my clothes not good enough for you? And then it's funny, you grow up, you see him at the class reunion, and his life didn't go the way that he wanted it to. And I'm like,
that's a lucky shot right there.
Yeah, whoever you are. Yeah. Well, no, and I think it's funny that you say that, Don, because I grew up apparently on the right side of the hill, but I didn't know there was a wrong or a right side because my grandmother.
That's because you were on the right side.
Well, but my grandmother lived in Beauty. And I spent a lot of my time over in Beauty, like there. That's where I spent a lot of time. And it was funny, too. Just thinking about this, like growing up, my grandmother and them must have grown up and not known if they were going to get to eat the next day or not. Because, and well, both my grandmothers for that matter, because food and dinner time was very, very important to both of my families, so much so that we still do it right now. Every Sunday, we still get together. The family gets together and eats.
Yeah.
But she was always worried if I had enough to eat. Always. Have you had enough to eat? And I'm like, Granny, you just made me like an 8-course meal and I destroyed it. Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to go in here and pass out and take a nap. But it was always a concern for her. And it wasn't so much like clothes and things for us. Like I said, we got what we got. Dad didn't buy name brand stuff. It was just, you get what we can afford to get you. You get what you need. I had name brand things. I had, a lot of that stuff. But I remember wanting this pair of Kentucky Dunk tennis shoes. It was the tennis shoes that the Kentucky ball team was wearing, and I wanted a pair, but they were $100. And Dad was like, "You're out of your mind." And now I do remember getting made fun of my tennis shoes by people that I was friends with.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I would have beat an ASS. Did y'all notice how I didn't cuss?
Look at Donna. She's trying to overgrowing. She's growing. She's growing over here. It's no, but I do remember getting made fun of for that, and I don't know if it put something in me, like as far as like the first pair of tennis shoes I ever bought for myself were a pair of Air Jordans because I wanted them. I still have them. I don't know. It's just an interesting how like these different generations came up and how they saw the world and how we see things. I don't know. I think it's interesting.
So it was different. Even in my household, it was different. My stepbrother and my younger brother, they wanted Air Jordans. I've never owned a pair of Air Jordans. I've never spent $100 on a pair of shoes. Just never have. Never. But we was talking about being on the wrong side of the hill and stuff like that. I think a lot of that sometimes is self-projection. Like I think we feel like, I don't know, like we've heard it so much that the other side of the hill, they think they're so much better than us. And then we were like, oh, well, screw those guys. They're not better. And we project. And it's like people, most people don't care you're from Eastern Kentucky. They ain't going to treat you no differently. They want to know if you're a competent person, you can get things done. But we have this chip on our shoulder. We have this chip on our shoulder a lot of times about it that really is more in our mind than anything.
We do kind of have a chip on our shoulder. I'll concede on that. It took me a while because I pushed back when they were like, okay, you have to work on your tact because I'm very black or white, especially being in healthcare. I'm like, for real, you need to wash your hands. And they're like, oh, I just, washed them. And I'm like, well, you didn't wash them for 30 seconds. I'm very black or white. And they're like, okay, let's work on your tact, you little holler girl. And I'm like, maybe I'll need to work on how I say things. Maybe you should just wash your dang hands.
Oh!
Dang. I said, dang.
Where's my ticker?
Ticker goes up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. We're from an interesting area. I wouldn't trade it for anything because like you boys, I can get along with people who are, considered poor, and I can get along with people who have their own private 747s too. I don't care who you are.
So and I grew up half my life in Beauty. Really, I stayed over there all the time. I was there as much as I was, here. Up Venters Branch where I live now. Right. I was in both places so much. I just never saw it that way. Like there was the other side. It was just Martin County to me, and it was the people that I went to school with. I don't know. I just never saw it that way. But that's interesting.
So Chris K is watching the show, but he's banned for. I don't know if you guys have followed Chris K at all on Facebook. If you know Chris, you know why he's banned. But anyway, he says my grandfather used to say I cried because I had no shoes, but stopped when I saw a man with no feet. And perspective is everything, guys.
Perspective is everything. Yeah,
that's right,
for sure.
All right, that one's go next.
That went a lot longer than I thought it would, but that was an interesting conversation. I really enjoyed that. All right, so we were going to follow this up kind of on the sports topic because JD's post was kind of based around sports, and something that has gotten a lot of play of late is before the NFL games they're playing the Black National Anthem. And, they play that, and then they play our national anthem. And I was just interested to know, and Dawn, we'll start with you here, kind of what you think about that. The fact that they are playing a separate anthem for our African-American players.
I don't think it's helpful. I respect the Black National Anthem. I respect the BLM movement. I don't think that we need to make everything on race because I'll tell you why. We have more minorities here than just blacks. So if we really want to make everything equal, it would take probably 4 hours to get everybody's anthems in before we go to a national anthem. I really wish that we would just get away from all this fighting and divisiveness and quit looking at people like we're different. We're not. We're all Americans. We can still respect the movement, and we can still, acknowledge that we have advantages and we have some quote unquote white privilege. I get all of that. And I know people are going to go wild for me saying that, but having their own separate national anthem does absolutely nothing to unite us. It has actually caused us to segue into going into having separate graduations. There are several colleges and universities now that when they graduate their classes, you have white kids graduating on one day, you have brown on another day, you have black on another day. Well, guys, why don't we go ahead and make it all fair, and let's do LGBTQT on one day, Asians on one day, people with this one day, people with that one day. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree with the law. What you're saying.
Don't. I don't know.
You can't separate it enough. Apparently, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just takes forever. I also I'm full of stories today, so I got another story for today. My first job, I moved down to Pulaski, Tennessee, before I went to play college football at Cameron. I moved down to Pulaski, Tennessee, and worked at a Johnson Controls factory for the summer. We'd get on the assembly line. We'd be working, making seats, whatever. Black people, white people, everybody. Just out there having a good time, listening to music, talking, working together. Break time was coming. What do you think happened?
Everybody would go there, separate into their groups.
They would go out to the lunch area, and everybody would split off, and the black people would sit over here at these two tables, and the white people would sit over here at these two tables. And I always thought it was the strangest thing in the whole world. And I never did understand it. We got to stop separating ourselves. This Black National Anthem, I'm not a supporter of it, even though I'm supposed to be the social justice warrior here on the show or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm not for this. I think we need to be coming together, not it's like you said, how far do we take this thing?
Right. Because we all know what's next. There's already a movement to get rid of the national anthem. If we don't stop all of this stuff before you know it, there are going to be social movements that want to change everything. And it's still not going to fix the problem. You're still have humans that are going to do evil things. You can do whatever you want, but it's never going to change.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the Black National Anthem is. I don't know what it says. I don't know what I know what it represents, but I just think that at some point we got to be able to heal and put these things behind us. And I just don't see the purpose of a Black National Anthem that's, for this specific group, and this national anthems for this specific group. And like you said, Dawn, how far do we take that? Now we have a Latino national anthem,
Yeah.
And I'm not for it.
No, and I agree with everything really that both of you said, and the thought that when I was looking at this, the thought that always comes to mind, or the saying is, "United we stand, divided we fall."
Right.
Every great empire in history, I don't know if you call the United States an empire, but we are definitely a great country, the bright shining light.
Powerhouse.
Right.
We're a powerhouse, and united we stand, divided we fall. And if we don't get ourselves together soon, we're going to fall, and it's very scary to think that could happen, because we live. I mean, really, you think about what you got up today and did. The fact that I think about my weekend. I went to a high school football game. I went and hung out yesterday with my kids and my wife and watched some football. I did, and all that could change. I said we have a very, very blessed life, and go to a lot of these other countries and live and see how it is. I think it's just another way of separating us, and it's really scary to me. So I agree with what you guys said, though. Absolutely. All right. So I want to talk about this because I think this person is one of the most polarizing people in our country, and that's AOC. So AOC goes to the MET Gala, right? They have this big MET Gala. And I find this interesting for a lot of the people that were there and a lot of the things that they talk about. But AOC wears a tax the rich dress. This dress was designed for her. It says tax the rich. It costs $35,000 to get into this. The people that were at this ball were the elite of the elite. And I found it ironic that she showed up in this dress. Like I said, it was made for her. She didn't pay for it. She didn't even pay for her ticket to go. But it's just there's a lot of irony there. And then the other thing that I saw was that all the elites and AOC and these guys walking through line had no masks on.
Right.
But all the help standing off to the side, a lot of them African American, the people that they propose to, represent and take care of when they're campaigning, were all masked up. So it kind of goes back, and we've seen this trend over and over and over with Obama's party. These different events that have happened that the people that are the help have to wear a mask, but the elite do not. And I just found that interesting, like as far as a visual, that AOC was there with this dress on that says tax the rich, when everybody there is who she's talking about.
Right.
Everybody, people, I say this all the time, people that are liberal and Democrats are that way until it's tax time. And then they become conservative. And they're working every loophole and doing everything. They're going to write those tickets off that they paid. They're going to write that off so they have to pay less taxes. So JD, let's kind of start with you. Like, just from the visual of that, I just found it interesting. Like there was a real parallel between the people who think they're elite and what they think about the people who aren't.
Yeah, I think the optics are definitely terrible. With everybody, serving, walking around with masks on, the guys are out enjoying the ball, are free to walk around. But I know like the Obama birthday party and stuff like that, everybody had been vaccinated. Everybody, had to check out the cards. And I think the same thing was the deal with this MET Gala. You had to be vaccinated. You couldn't go. And that's why they went wearing masks. But the optics were definitely bad. But also, you know what? I kind of think it's a bold move by AOC to show up at a place like that and then wear a dress that says tax the rich. Because everybody there, like you said, everybody there is.
Don, I think it achieved the goal. She is one of the most polar. We're talking about it right now.
No, I
absolutely right. Absolutely
right. I agree. I just get tickled. I get tickled at how brilliant this girl is. She literally screams about one thing and does the opposite all the time. The designer that of the dress that she wore, Aurora James, she owes over $100,000 in back taxes. She received, I don't know how many PPP loans. She has legions of unpaid interns. It's a $35,000 ticket, but it's a $250,000 price tag for a table. And then you roll up and you act like you don't like the rich. What are you doing? You're beating the system every which way that you could possibly try to beat it. And then you roll up in a designer dress saying tax the rich, yet you're rolling with the rich. I don't get it. I really wish that AOC, if she's going to do this big, democratic socialist movement or whatever it is she is doing, and same thing with Bernie, do it. Quit having multiple houses, quit leeching off the system, do it. Live like you're supposed to live and act like you want to be one of the little, peasants. But instead, she's at the Met, maskless.
I don't think that just because you want to tax the rich doesn't mean you don't want to be rich, do you? Does it?
And the rich people are being taxed, and I don't get it. I really don't get AOC. I don't get her whole movement.
No, I mean, what I'm saying is like just because even if I was hand over fist rich right now, I would still want to pay my fair share of taxes.
Okay.
So I think that's all AOC is doing. I don't understand why that's hypocritical.
Because she's quarreling about the rich, and then she literally wants to hang out with the rich. The very people who she's saying she dislikes, she rushes to hang out with. The very thing that she quarrels about, she rushes and purchases. Like she's in designer duds all the time. Her suits and everything are completely designer. I really want to be a part of her socialist movement, because if that's what socialism is, to where I can wear designer duds all the time and hang out at the Met Gala, then hey, sign me up.
Yeah, but I mean, just because she's hanging out with the rich people doesn't mean she doesn't want to tax them. I just don't understand. I don't get that thinking. I'm sorry.
I don't know. For me, because AOC was not poor growing up. She came from a very wealthy family. Right. It's one of those things where, I don't know, generally people don't do things that harms them. Mm-hmm. And that's the irony of it to me.
Well, I think that's what shows her strength and her conviction, man, is that she knows it's not something that's good for her personally. Go ahead.
And that may be. I mean, I don't know. You may be right. I think she is fascinating because it is, Dawn said she talks out of both sides of her mouth all the time, but you cannot stop talking about her. Like, she is one of those people. Her Twitter game and her social media game is strong. She is a lot like Trump in that way, where Trump always made you talk about him. I don't care what it was. He might say something stupid. He gets somebody fired up on Twitter, but you're talking about him.
It was much easier to come up with podcast subjects. I can say that.
It was. Well, but AOC is very similar to that. And like, I find that whole thing very fascinating. And like I said, look, and we're going to jump in, and I think this is a good place to segue into Biden's tax cut. He's starting to talk about that now. And JD and I talked about this a little bit, just really between he and I, kind of off air, multiple times, that I was scared of this, because what you will ultimately see, Biden is saying the right things, right? Let's tax the ultra wealthy. Let's close some of these loopholes. Let's do this thing so that they're paying their fair share. Mm-hmm. All right, fine. But who will ultimately get hurt by this are people like me who have small businesses. And like, it scares me to death. I'm not even going to play. Like, it scares me to death. And that's what I told JD. This is long before Don ever got here, that what scared me about Biden was not necessarily, it was his tax plan, because I know how hard it was under Obama. And I have things that I want to do in the next 10 years up to my retirement. And everything I'm seeing with this tax plan is going to come true, and it is going to hammer the middle class. It will hammer the poor. It will ultimately, that's who it will hammer. Now, will the rich pay more? Sure, they'll pay more. But you know what they'll do? They'll pay $500,000 for a group of accountants and lawyers to keep them from having to pay those taxes. Right. I can't necessarily afford to do that. I can somewhat. I can get, I can do that, but it is scary. So, JD, I'll let you kind of start, because, you're more of a Biden guy. So it's like, what do you think about his tax plan?
I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that if we're talking about raising the taxes on people who make $400,000 a year, I'm not going to lose any sleep about that. I mean, I want people to be successful. I want people to succeed. But if raising taxes and, creating a bunch of revenue so we can do other things to help everybody out, then I'm all for that. If it stops people from having to go to, owning 3 homes, or if they own 4 homes and now they can only own 3 homes, I don't have a problem with that. I'll sleep just fine with that.
From what I understand, though, the problem with people earning $400,000 a year versus people who earn $4 million a year, like, nobody knows what the set amount will be. The people who are earning $400,000, they may or may not have to pay the same bracket as $4 million. So I haven't read a ton into it, but I've heard a lot of good debates. And, when you're talking about people who make $400,000 a year, you're talking about a lot of doctors, like not family doctors and stuff like that, but specialists. They have tons of debt. They have tons of dependents. I just don't know if they should be in the same tax bracket as the Amazon guy. So, but
I agree with that.
But this is and I mean, I don't mean this in an offensive way, but it's a fact. This is the Democrat way. This is what they do. They raise taxes. They raise everything. And I never get anything out of anything when they raise taxes. I mean, sure, I have roads and stuff like that, but I have that now. If they keep raising and getting more money from me, I would like to see something more with it. And I don't know where the money goes. They give themselves raises all the time, guys. I mean,
that's not a Democrat thing. People just give raises. That's a politician thing. That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, these politicians, I don't know, right and left, I don't know why we let them buy us so much. But when it comes to taxing people, every single time we turn around, we come up with a new tax. Before you know it, we're going to be 60, 70%. I mean, that's just how it is.
There are a few issues that keep me, because I am very liberal socially, okay? Too liberal for my family, okay? And I'm very liberal socially, but this really is the crux issue for me and why I tend to vote Republican. And this is why. And so here, the plan for me for the next 10 years is to open multiple locations and grow to a point where when I'm ready to retire, I can sell. Okay. That's the idea. And if the tax is going to get to me, it will 100% harm the small
Yes.
businesses like me. It will 100% harm. And what that will stop me from doing is being able to grow, because I'm not going to have the disposable income within my business to be able to hire somebody and give them a job. It's going to go to taxes. It's going to go to my federal government, who I don't trust with my money for that part. And some of the programs that they put their money into, I don't agree with. I want to be able to use my money to expand my business. Obviously, that increases my well-being, of course. That is the name of the game, being self-employed and trying to work. But I'm also providing jobs for people and helping their families provide for theirs. And it's going to stop that from happening.
So here's the problem we have, though. We got, Social Security's run out of money. We got all these programs that are run out of money. So what we do? If you keep on doing the same thing, that's
we cut a lot of these BS programs that we've got out there, JD. Somebody needs to go through and look at all these BS programs.
No, I agree with all that.
And funnel your money a different way. It doesn't mean that I have to give you more.
We pay over $700 billion in a military budget every year,
I don't disagree with you on
which
that
is
at all.
Crazy. So if we're going to start cutting, let's start there.
Let's bring that, and I actually agree with you there. Like, I think we overspend on our military. I think that we can be the superpower that we are, and probably spend half of what we do on our military. And you and I we have common ground there. I absolutely agree with that. So do that, and don't tax me more.
Oh, well, then I wouldn't have no problem with that. But we should start cutting out these social programs like welfare and Social Security. Now you're starting to starve people, though, man. Those are the programs that are in danger of losing funding.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there. And I don't disagree with the fact that Social Security at some point, like I don't think that I will draw Social Security. I don't think it will be there for me to draw. Right. I think that I will have to make sure that I am covered on my side, or else we're going to starve to death after me working my guts out for years and years and years. Yeah. So that is really like the crux issue for me when it comes to my politics is the tax plans, because I agree with you 100% on the military budget. Like, I agree with you. I agree that there are programs, there are BS things that we spend money on in our federal government every year that we don't need to spend money on. You shore up Social Security. You make sure you can take care of your people. You don't need to be sending billions of dollars over to Afghanistan like the Taliban are now asking for, this aid. No, you wanted the country, you take it. That kind of stuff we can cut out. Don, what do you agree with what we're saying here? What's your pushback?
Yeah, no, I actually was quiet this time because I agree with everything that you're saying, Jimmy Don. So you've already got all of it covered. I literally vote on two issues. I'm pro-life and I want to keep my money. And as far as the military budget, I totally agree on that. And here's the facts. Democrats are in full charge right now. If they wanted to go after that budget, now's their chance. But they didn't. They come after taxes instead. And
you know what they're doing is just the same thing that all politicians always do. If they cut in the military budget, they're giving up the House in 2022 and the White House in 2024. You know it. I know it.
Yeah, they're liable to give
even though that's the right thing to do is to cut that daggone budget.
And JD, I think it's something. Look, because there's a lot of common ground. We'll get on here and argue, but there's a lot of common ground between us. And the thing is, where I think, like the term limits, I think that plays into that because you get these guys like McConnell and Schumer and Pelosi and all these guys that are tucked in. All they're worried about is getting reelected. They don't want to lose the House. They don't want to lose that. And I think if you can make it, I'm a term limit guy. Like, I think they should give them a couple of terms, get in there, get your footing, do what you think your people want you to do, and then you're gone and you get some fresh blood in. And that way it's not a life for you. It's not you're not pushed by the lobbyists and those things. You got any pushback on that, JD, or do you kind of
No, I'm not a huge term limit guy just because I don't want people coming in and making a bunch of new laws and then leaving. I want you to be held accountable. I want you to, I'd rather have very few laws and maybe be the right laws than have 20,000 wrong laws. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I don't want people coming in and changing a bunch of laws every 2 years. Does that make sense?
I think it's reasonable.
Put Caitlin Curtis's comment up here because I want to address this real quick.
This one?
Yeah. They need the drug test for welfare. Okay, thank you. You can put it down now. This used to be like one of my. I used to die on this hill, and I used to say the same thing. We need to drug test welfare. We need to drug test welfare. We need to drug test welfare. But I'm telling you right now, while welfare is a good social program, is it because of the drug abusers, not because the abusers are taking advantage of the systems? But that is what we talked about earlier tonight. Kids are eating because of welfare. If you drug test parents and punish parents because they're on drugs, the kids still don't eat, and that's it.
Don, where do you fall on the term limits? Todd is right in what he's saying here. Politicians will never vote for that, so it's a moot point, and it is. But I think
that's where I am. I think it's a waste of breath to talk about something that'll never happen. I'll probably fall in the middle of it, honestly. I like steadiness. So I like knowing that my congressman, it might be in there for the next 30 years of my life. And I'm kind of with JD on the whole flip-flopping. But at the same time, I don't like how they get in bed and they stay there and it's just done. That's just who they are too. So I'm kind of in the middle, but it literally is moot. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if it does, fine, then we'll talk about it. But right now it's just wasting our time. As far as a welfare thing, it's drug testing. I agree with JD. We can go after kids and that would make them, not have a lot of food. But at the same time, I'm good with drug testing welfare recipients as far as limiting them. Like if you come up positive for this, then you don't get the full amount. We're going to, nail you $100 or something, because let's be honest, people take these welfare programs, and you guys know this, and I don't know if all of our viewers are from our region, but there's such thing as dope pop and all this stuff. They know how to take their welfare, go to the grocery store, get the items they need, and then run up and down the hollers and sell those items for cash. So as far as kids eating or not eating on the welfare programs, yes, we need to make sure that they have that access, but we still don't control if they actually get to eat, because that falls on the parents. We can give parents all kinds of money, but I don't know if they're actually going to spend it on their kids and feed them or not. So I think there does need to be some more accountability with the money that we're giving to people. At the same time,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I'm saying here's where we will find common ground on the drug testing for welfare people, is that the cost doesn't add up. We're going to spend more money drug testing people than what money we're going to, if we even pull back, it's still going to be too expensive to drug test everybody.
Yeah.
So now you're just spending more government money.
Yeah, and that's true too. So really it boils down to, are you going to be responsible when you go and you have sex and you knock somebody up? You've got to be a responsible human after that. You can't just have children and expect Jimmy, Don, and Amy to take care of them. No. You know what I mean? We have to stop that mentality of this entitlement. Oh, I've had a baby, or oh, I've got a student loan, or oh, I have this. Somebody come help me. F that. This is America. Get a job. Get a job. And if you're poor, hell, none of us grew up millionaires. Come on, let's quit acting like we did. We grew up in poor Martin County, okay? None of us grew up privileged except for maybe 2 or 3 people in the whole county. We know for a fact that although you grow up poor, you can have a clean house, you can get a shower, and you don't have to stink, and you don't have to have, couches that are meant to be in your living room in the front yard. We've kind of nosedived on this whole everybody take care of me mentality, and it's insane.
So, Don, I think this is directed to you in your comment, but you're pro-life, and I think what I'll let Don. Don't need me to explain anything. Go ahead, Don.
But I'm pro-life. Yeah, I'm pro-life. I don't care what people say. They say, "Oh, you're pro-life, but you don't want to take care of the kids after they're born." Right. I shouldn't have to. That should be you. You're the one that squirted out your semen into a girl and got somebody pregnant. Take care of them. This doesn't just all fall on us.
Yeah, so I like this comment from Michelle. It's because the system makes it easier to stay on welfare than to try to better themselves. People that try to work are punished, medical taken away, they lose benefits that are worth more than you can make. The system needs to change that. And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And she's very, very well versed in social services. She knows her stuff, and that's 100% spot on.
I agree. I can agree more with that.
We make it too easy.
I don't think welfare should be a lifetime
Well, be careful, JD, or they'll be saying that you don't want to take care of kids for forever.
No, what is
that's what that comment was to me. But
no, welfare shouldn't be a lifetime position, though. You should, but we also should do a better job. Just because you go get a job doesn't mean you're ready to come off welfare. Let's help these people for a few months. Let's get them where they can get a place where they can afford rent. Let them get their feet in the job. Let them buy clothes where they can go have a job. I know people can't afford to work.
Yeah, teach them how to do it. Teach them how to do interviews.
Absolutely.
Give them all these. Yeah,
absolutely.
All of that. It's
very important. Very important. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think. See, again, we're on the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm all for welfare, but I'm not for welfare being your career.
Yeah, that's the lifetime appointment. Absolutely not.
Yeah, let's try to figure out how can we take care of your kids while you're struggling. At the same time, we're going to teach and talk to you about how we can dig out of this hole that we're in. But we don't do that. We have people who are so over the top smart. They know how to work these systems for forever.
And it is. It's 100%.
And I do. I am pro-choice, so I don't believe that we should force people to be having babies and be stuck on welfare systems. But I also couldn't agree more that welfare is a lifetime appointment. Let's do what we can to get them back in the workforce, to be, we're generating for the good of the population. We're,
like I said, when it comes
productive
to
citizens.
When it comes to abortion, that's the individual woman's choice. Abortion's already there. Okay. It's right. There. I know some states have restricted it. We're not going to argue abortion. People can do that if they want. Where I get off on being pro-life is that's not for me. And I don't want to fund anything to do with your abortion. And that is a fair argument. I don't know why everybody gets tore up about it. If you want to help somebody get an abortion, by all means, you can make donations and privately fund it. But when it comes back to welfare, once you have a kid, once you do these adulty things, you need to be prepared to stand on your own 2 feet. That's not my responsibility.
No, and
I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, no, I think we all can kind of agree there. So I got one more topic. We're at time, but I do have one more topic that I wanted to, kind of touch. And that is this General Milley, however you say his name, apparently went behind President Trump's back and made this phone call to China. And JD, do you think this is a whole lot about nothing, or do you think that this guy will end up in front of the people at Congress, in front of hearings? And if he did do this, do you think that he should be court-martialed?
If he did it, I don't know. I don't know the details right now. I think it's worth investigating and see what happened. I also understand the atmosphere that he was working in at the time, where he was worried about a guy who was unstable in the office, claiming that he won an election that he clearly lost. And he was willing to do just about anything to stay in office, which included maybe causing a nuclear strike. And the general made the phone call to China and said, it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, I'll know about it, and you guys know about it. And that's how it's supposed to work, I think. But now the president does have the authority, which is crazy, to have a nuclear strike without the approval from Congress. Do you guys know that?
I did know that, and I think that's crazy too.
That's crazy.
that one person could just hit the button and essentially end the world. Don, where are you at on it?
Democrats and Republicans should be concerned about a general breaking chain of command. They really should. Because if that was a Democrat president and a general did that, then we should be up in arms, and vice versa. We're talking about military guys breaking the chain of command and calling a country that hates us and giving them heads up on things that he thought, that he felt might happen. Not that he knew, that he thought might happen. That is crazy amounts of treasonous. Just, I've never even, I can't believe that story is not completely all over the airwaves. And it would be if it wasn't for COVID. But buddy, I don't like that. We're a military family. Todd served a long time, 10 years. And no, you don't break the chain of command.
No, Knox, it's not okay that a general goes against Biden or President Trump. But he didn't go against him. He didn't get to have a command and then say, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not what happened.
He called China.
He called
okay, well then let's.
But now you also understand. You also got to understand the atmosphere that he was operating under too. Now, this guy wasn't exactly being sane. Let's just be honest, right?
I do. I know I'm a girl, but I do understand the atmosphere too.
Well, it didn't do to being a girl.
I'm going to nail you guys on that. Every time y'all say you need to understand this, I do. I understand it. A crazy climate. Trump.
Well, when I say that, that's also for everybody.
Trump was no doubt acting. I mean, we all agree he has some crazy. God, he's just got all kinds of crazy going on. I would be concerned too. But you do not call China. He didn't call like France or ally or whoever. He called China, guys. China. How do you defend that? He literally called China
and said, we're not going to nuke you. I mean, that really shouldn't even be. We didn't nuke them yesterday. Or the day before.
Yeah, I tried to mansplain. No, he would say that to me, Don. He would say, "You understand, Jimmy Don?"
I have fun on that.
Yeah, I got nothing else to get going on.
Jamie's an equal opportunity smart aleck.
Yes.
Yeah, he's equal opportunity. It doesn't matter.
And I am too. It doesn't. Honestly, I like fighting back on that just because it's fun. Don't worry.
No, but I mean, as far as where I'm at, I think that if he truly broke chain of command. In what we do at that high level, it's the highest level it gets.
Yeah.
If he broke chain of command, he should be court-martialed and punished. Now, I don't know if it's, treason, like, string him up and shoot him. I don't know if it's that. But also, too, I mean, just like what JD said, the atmosphere was. Now, Trump was not doing, I don't know. I just don't know that was really something that was occurring or if it was in this guy's head, because there was a lot of things that happened.
Which one I think this investigation is fine with me. I don't have a problem with
that. I think the investigation's good, and let's figure out what's what.
It'll be interesting to watch it.
Did you see that, though? Just one last thing. Did you see the guy that was he was on Hillary Clinton's campaign, and he was also like a donor in the DNC. He did something in the DNC that just got, I guess, the grand jury he basically, for starting Russiagate, for starting the whole Russia hoax, he lied to the FBI. Did you guys see that? Mm-hmm. I think that could be an interesting topic for next week, because I would look at that because I think that could be interesting. Just like go back and visit the whole Russiagate thing and kind of how that started. And yes. But no, as far as like this guy's getting convicted for lying to the FBI, it was essentially the lie that started the whole thing. Like this whole Trump.
Yeah, there was a bunch of Trump's guys that got put in prison for that, right?
Yeah, there was a bunch of Trump people too. Yeah. No, but I think that's interesting for both sides in the politics of it. I think that's kind of interesting. But anyway, all right. That was a fun show, guys. Like, I really enjoyed that. When we got to talk about our home a little bit and what it was like to grow up here, I don't know. I love that. Anything else?
We could cover Regeneron. We're already running over. It shouldn't take a few more minutes. And then, we've covered everything.
Yeah, let Don, you just take the reins on it, because I don't know enough about it, but I'll chime in.
Yeah, well, I've told you guys, we don't talk to each other. I don't know if our viewers know that, but we're all busy and we don't really talk to each other. But every now and then we'll fly off a text. And I lost a little bit of sleep over the Regeneron, the antibody treatment that is now under the control of the HHS and is restricted. That one concerns me, and I wanted to know what your all's thoughts was in the middle of the week. I'm like, oh my God, did y'all see this? Because we're using this antibody infusion to save people left and right during this COVID pandemic, and now we're saying that we have a supply issue.
I can confirm.
Suddenly,
I can confirm that I talked to somebody that I know, and they said it was 100% being held back.
Yes,
it was being held back. That there is supply there.
Mm-hmm.
It was being held back.
And
I heard some people saying, well, yeah, they're holding it back in places like Texas and Florida where people aren't as highly vaccinated. But I also heard that was kind of the argument back by the White House about it. And from what I've been able to read, that's still untrue. Like, you send it to where people need it. And it is and that concerns me, that our federal government could hold back a treatment for somebody that is unsure about being vaccinated, that potentially gets sick, or even if it's somebody who was vaccinated that gets really sick, that if there was a treatment there for them that could help, that it's being held back by our government. And from what I can find out, that is 100% true. And that concerns me. That's Marxist.
I mean, it is. All of my sources said the same, Jimmy Don. That's why I panicked text. I'm like, I need you to check Kentucky.
Yeah, Don texted me and I checked and I found out the same exact thing. Like, I confirmed that to be true. And then I heard the White House talk about it. Somebody asked about it, and they talked out the side of their mouth, which was concerning. JD, I know you're with us too.
In Kentucky, I guess that there's not a shortage, does it look like? So, I don't know about it, but I'm not for government saying we're going to send medicine to Florida unless you change your governor. That's just crazy.
And Joe's saying that unless the government lines up. I was told that here that it is being held back. That there may not be a shortage yet, but it is being held back.
Well, and Governor Beshear talked about it actually, and he's
just to give me up to speed here a little bit. It's being held back because the supply is low, or because we're using it on people who don't need it, or
They don't
what's
say.
I think it's all about. I think it's just what's been happening in this pandemic to begin with. We are just really making this a cluster. We've
Get
been
vaccinated. That's what it's about.
That's
Get
what
vaccinated.
it's about. We have been in this for 2 years. You might as well say we're going on 2 years. We've got plenty of time to build up antibody treatments. These treatments were not being used a few months ago. Then out of nowhere, Governor DeSantis is like, okay, I'm going to step in and I'm going to give treatment to Floridians, and I'm going to set up like these drive-through clinics of Regeneron. It takes off. His death rates plummet. And then the next thing you know, the only 7 states that are being held back are all red states. It's very, even the Democrats.
Well, that's concerning for sure.
Yeah, even the Democrats are like, ooh, it seems like we're punishing people for not being vaccinated. But if you look at Florida's vaccination rate, they're above average. They have been. It's just the media spins it like they wasn't. But remember, Florida is a bunch of senior citizens. Our own national people tell us that 65 and older are like at 80% vaccinated. So that includes Florida.
So just to change up this a little bit. So why is DeSantis so like pushing this Regeneron so hard, but he won't push the vaccine? Like, what's the deal?
I don't think that he does it.
He has never said not get vaccinated.
Yeah,
he's even vaccinated.
He pushes choice.
Yeah.
He doesn't think that you should be forced into doing anything. He's vaccinated. Like, well, I think Don just said that. Sorry, Don. He's actually vaccinated, and he makes it available for his people. But if you are concerned about getting vaccinated and would rather have therapeutics, then he's making that available to his people as well.
Right.
But people don't want to say that because it's all about pushing the vaccine, which again makes me like, why? If we know that there's multiple ways to do this, okay, fine. If you're not comfortable getting vaccinated, but you get sick, you should be able to do the therapeutics.
Yeah, so I'm going to research this, and if this is true, which hard to believe this is true.
It'll blow your mind, JD.
Well, this will blow my mind.
It will. It'll blow your mind because I want to think that.
So I'm going to revisit this next Sunday after I've looked at it.
Okay. Sure. I want to think that we always do the right thing. I'm getting softer the older I get. But when I see stuff like that, and then when you see the press secretary say, well, we're not going to send as many to Florida as we are a smaller state, where you're looking at a population difference huge comparing Florida to a small, teeny tiny state. So I don't know. It's highly concerning.
Yeah.
We talked about that. I told you that was a big story.
That was a crazy story. No, I said they went crazy on Nicki Minaj, for saying that. And I don't know that it was all, sometimes you got to look at other things. Was there another reason that could have occurred? Was there a reaction? I don't know that was necessarily because of the vaccine.
We have lymph nodes. Yeah, you've got lymph nodes all in your groin. And I know a guy who got his second Moderna, and his lymph node was almost the size of a football, and it was right by his testicle. So you would think that his ball was swollen, when in reality it was a big lymph node. So I don't think she lied. I just think she got attacked for saying what she said.
Yeah, and that's the scary part is doesn't matter who you are, if you don't agree or you say anything dissenting to the narrative that's being pushed, you get freaking crushed.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
And that's the part, like I said, there's not a lot of, conservative thought now on Twitter. If you read Twitter, like I read Twitter a lot, there's not a lot of conservative thought there. A lot of that stuff has been taken out. And I'm not talking about the Q and all that stuff. I'm talking about just conservative thought in general. Ben
Shapiro's still on there, I can tell you right now.
Yeah. Well, Ben's, I don't know. Like, I actually like Shapiro. He's smart, and he's very he doesn't always agree, but he's a smart guy. And I don't agree with some of the stuff Shapiro even says, but
I agree with those melodies.
But he's a smart, well thought out guy, and it's hard to argue with him. He's one of those guys. I'm saying he's one of those guys that knows how to argue. Like JD does. JD knows how to argue. JD will change the subject on you, then bring you back, and then change it again and come around. He's that guy too. He knows how to do that. So, what's Joe going? No. Oh, anyway. All right. So we're good. You guys got anything else you want to talk about? That was a lot of fun tonight.
No, you guys have a good week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's wrap this bad boy up. You guys know where to find us. Go check us out on social media. Don and JD are posting over there all the time. A lot of thought-provoking stuff. Go follow JD because apparently he posts interesting things and likes to gaslight people. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Nobody, bro.
I'm just saying. JD. If I had a lighter, I'd light it right now. Anyway, no, you know where to find us. As far as the podcast is concerned, you can go to Podbean. That's where it actually launches from. But you can also get it on iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeart, anywhere that you can find a podcast. You can find the Just Add Bourbon podcast as well. As we always end these things, from myself, from JD, and from Don, no matter how bad your week's been, no matter how bad your day's going, if you just add bourbon,